Mike Huckabee is a prominent and very respected Republican leader. He runs and he rocks. As a politician, he spent many years as governor of Arkansas, many months as a Republican presidential candidate, and who knows, possibly a vice presidential candidate. As a runner, he has finished several marathons. He dropped over 100 pounds doing it. And as a rocker, he lays down a mean bass line. So, Mike Huckabee, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
And how did you hook up with these musicians?
They were intoxicated late one night, and somebody suggested that they hang out with me, and in a weak moment, they decided that they would.
That was thoughtful of them.
Yeah.
Your honesty is enlightening. Almost crippling.
I think after about 12 cups of some serious Starbucks this morning, they'll change their mind and we'll probably call the show off.
Mike, I wanted to ask you something. Have you written books?
I've written 5 books.
5 books, that's what
Working on the 6th one that comes out in November of this year.
Is your 6th book aimed at Hillary Clinton and called How to Lose Gracefully?
No.
No, it's hurry that up
because you would only sell one
It's coming
copy.
out in November, and she will have not given up by November. In fact, she's going to go to the inauguration waving a flag saying, "It really should be me. It really should be me."
I saw you on the news channels, and I have to say it was interesting. You know, we all know politics is an interesting game because you want people to say exactly what it really is, but when you're a politician, you're being cornered constantly by people trying to make, like, wouldn't it be better for the party if you got out and stuff like that?
Yeah.
And when you were in that position, you were graceful, you were respectful of your opponent. And you were essentially doing what I think she's trying to do this week. By the way, there's a new Hillary every week. She's trying not to hurt Barack Obama.
Yeah.
And she's trying to close out gracefully. But she really didn't do that for a while. You were pretty graceful the whole time. Is that why you lost?
Yeah. That's why I'm playing the music jam tonight and not campaigning somewhere. Okay, I think this is finished now.
No, I actually mean that kind of seriously because some of us get jaded about politics, and it feels like in order to win, you have to be mean.
You know, I think it's interesting that the 2 Republicans that ran the most civil campaigns were the last 2 on their feet, John McCain and me. Neither one of us attacked each other. We didn't attack other candidates. We were the object of some attacks, but we didn't attack back. And I think it was very significant that both of us tried to run campaigns that said, this ought to be about what we're for, not what's wrong with somebody else. And I went into this whole process running for president saying, you know, if I have to take somebody's head off in order to be president, then, you know, it goes back to a simple principle. If you gain the whole world and lose your own soul, what does it profit you? And for me, that's a maxim that I try to live by, that it doesn't really matter even if it's the presidency. But if you did it by the loss of your own integrity and your own soul and your own sense of core, then you really haven't gained as much as you've lost.
Given that standard, can anybody win an election?
No, it's impossible.
No, it's impossible.
I think, frankly, I think it is possible. And let me say this, obviously I'm a John McCain supporter at this point, and hope he wins and going to work very hard for him. But respectfully, Barack Obama has run, I think, a campaign that has tried to focus more on what he wants to do and who he's about. It's about his vision. And I respect him. I even applaud him for that. And I hope it can continue that both he and McCain, I know they're going to mix it up, and that's part of the process. But it hasn't been about personal attacks to each other, attacking their character and attacking their integrity and honesty and honor. And I do hope it continues.
When Hillary said the whites, the hardworking Americans, did that totally sink her?
It didn't help her, and I think it also showed that there was a level of desperation. But, I've known the Clintons a long time.
And they're not at all prejudiced, right? They're
I mean, you one thing you can say. I mean, the Clintons,
she was just talking demographics. She just didn't,
It was a poor choice of words, and I've had a few of those myself from time to time.
What's your worst gaffe?
Let's save that for next time.
Yeah. I think you're
deciding to come on this show.
I was going to say we only have a couple hours, so we don't have time to go.
So
through
that happens to any politician. Do you actually feel sorry for another politician, even an opponent, when you see them in an uncomfortable position and you see the way the media are like piranha on
Well, if they're running against me, no, I'm happy to see them fall on their face. But, I do have a real sympathy for the guys that are out there. People don't understand. You're getting 3 hours of sleep a night. You're making 10 speeches a day. You're being jostled about, in crowds of people, literally just being grabbed and pushed and shoved. and your brain is just like scrambled eggs at some point. And then you get up and somebody asks you a question, or you're in the middle of a speech, and you say something, it comes out, and the next thing you know, it's all over the national news.
Right.
And, I always say, let's cut these folks some slack. If the whole body of their life and work is not, indicative of what they've just said, then, give them a little room here.
People are very upset by high gas prices right now.
I wonder why.
They're high. Congress holding hearings, people with just railing on the oil companies for record profits. You had Hillary float the idea of a gas tax holiday.
As did McCain.
And McCain, did he also float that?
Yeah, he did.
And you had Obama and others saying, well, that's a parlor trick. It's not really going to help. And I thought it could actually increase consumption, which would be the worst thing. Is there neither way can work? We can't just regulate the oil industry and take that huge segment of the economy which people have invested in. It's in, people's 401ks, even if they don't know it. You can't just totally drastically change our economy, or can you? Or is there some balance between regulation and free markets that will allow us to develop new energy? If you were president, what would your position on this have been?
Well, I would say that we would get energy independent in 10 years. The reason that we are in the mess we're in, not only in terms of energy cost and economic disaster, but also because of our military situation, the ties that we have in the Middle East. We're financing both sides of the war on terror. Our tax dollars pay for the military, but it's our oil dollars that finance the terrorists. And if we don't understand that, we're kidding ourselves. We've made the Saudis obscenely rich. We go to them and ask them to increase production to get us out of this sort of crisis, and they thumb their nose at us. And they just go ahead and continue to increase the obscenity of their wealth. And one of the things
the oil companies say that they need these record profits to develop new sources of oil, but how do we make sure that's what they're actually using the record profits for?
Well, the best thing to do is to get to the decision that we're going to be weaned off of oil, and that we're not going to continue to use fossil fuels for the long-term future.
Do you live in a geodome right next to Al Gore somewhere, where you've got a house that doesn't use any energy?
Made of old tires and mud. Yeah, the whole house.
I actually drive a flex fuel vehicle.
A flex fuel? What's that?
That's you can use the 85 and other fuels in it.
Okay.
And,
gas or corn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can throw all sorts of old scraps from the table. And
Dr. Brown from Back to the Future. A beer can and a banana peel.
The investors who get involved in these energy alternatives are
incentives.
That's
to
exactly
develop.
right.
That's
You
it.
give people a reason to go out there and do it.
I have the answer, but it isn't without problems. You find a car that runs on tobacco.
Yeah.
But the only problem is you can't drive within 25 foot of a bar. So if you're willing to make that sacrifice.
By the way, the solar car won't do well here in Seattle. I was outside today.
Yeah, you're going to
I
see a lot of
parking lot.
cars stalled on the side of the road.
Yeah. So, are you? Were you sad when for a while there? It looked pretty good for you.
Yeah.
You looked like you might get. I can never understand what it was like. First off, I don't know why anybody would want to be president.
Yeah, I'm wondering that myself.
I mean, as soon as you're... It's weird. You've been under the microscope a lot.
And that's part of politics. But if you love your country and you really believe you have some ideas that would help it be a better country, then you're willing to go through, even the pain and the problems that you go through as a candidate. And I passionately love this country. I know where I came from. I grew up in a household where I was the first male in my entire family lineage to even graduate high school. My mother had grown up in the Depression, oldest of 7 kids, dirt floors, outdoor toilets. I consider myself the most amazingly lucky man on earth to live in this country. Dirt floors, outdoor toilets, no electricity when she was a little girl. And, the poverty of the Deep South was intense. And so, I'm one generation away from that.
So did she used to say to you, when I was your age?
Oh, listen, I'm only 52 years old, but I lived through the Depression myself because I had to go through every bit of it through my parents who told me about walking to school, uphill both ways.
8 miles to school.
Snowing in July.
In the snow. Even though it never snowed in Arkansas, it snowed every day they went to school.
Every back with ex-governor. You always called governor, though, right? It's like
yeah, it's kind of like being a colonel, a general, or a buck private. You always are.
Arkansas governor and former presidential candidate Mike Huckabee